Hi, guys. I want to take a moment and talk a little bit about what I'm doing on here. So, I'm going to be reading the first four chapters of the Genius Files to catch you up on what we have been doing in person. And while you guys are not attending in person, we still want to be able to share this great book with you. Some of you may have started reading this, and if that's the case, skip to the chapter that you're on. Um, but this is the Genius Files by Dan Gutman. And I want to just take a moment right now to make some predictions based on what you are seeing here on the cover. So something I'm predicting is, um, what are these guys running from? Are these friends? Are they siblings? Who's chasing them in the back? Um, and I'm predicting that they're running from this person. So maybe, what are they wandering from? I'm predicting maybe they've done something mischievous just because the look on their face. If you can look at the cover, it looks like they're kind of laughing. Maybe they've done something silly, like a prank. Um, so the very first two chapters, we're going to be talking about making predictions. That reading strategy is important when we're reading as we connect to the text. Wondering what's going to happen next based on what we are reading. A couple things. The dedication here is quite funny. Um, now I'm going to read that. It says, "Do stupid stuff, and even stupider stuff will happen to you." Nobody said this, but somebody should have. All right. Chapter 1, Coke and Pepsi. There were 10 items on Coke McDonald's to-do list on June 17th, but jump off a cliff was not one of them. Clean up my locker was on the list. Pick up my yearbook was on the list. Get birthday present for Pep was on the list. Pack for summer vacation was on the list. But nothing about jumping off a cliff. And yet, oddly enough, jumping off a cliff was the one thing that Coke McDonald was actually going to do on June 17th. Not only was he going to jump off a cliff, but first he was going to push his twin sister, Pepsi. What kind of prediction can you make right now about what time of year it is? Talks about cleaning out their lockers, picking up their yearbooks. Yeah, the end of the school year, right? In fact, June. Now, before we get to the cliff jumping part of the story, maybe I'd better explain something. Why would anyone in their right mind name their children Coke and Pepsi? What do you think? Can you make a prediction? Did they like McDonald's? Was that their craving soda during their pregnancies? We'll see. It was probably because Dr. Benjamin McDonald and his lovely wife Bridget weren't in their right minds when the twins were born almost 13 years earlier. For one thing, the McDonalds didn't know they'd be having twins until after Coke entered the world. The doctors and nurses had pretty much taken off their latex gloves and called it a day when Mrs. McDonald informed them that she felt a little funny feeling deep inside, as if she weren't quite finished. And lo and behold, she was absolutely right. The doctors and nurses went back to work, and the next thing anybody knew, out popped a bouncing baby girl. Surprise! From the start, the McDonald's had decided to name their son Coke, not because of the soft drink, because of coal. According to dictionary.com, coke is the solid product resulting from the deconstructive distillation of coal in an oven or closed chamber or by imperfect combustion, consisting principally of carbon. So that surprised me. I thought for sure um, it was based off the name Coke, as in the soda, but no, coal, which is deep in the ground, a fossil fuel instead. Go ahead and look it up if you don't believe me. I'll wait. Okay, did you look it up? Good. Dr. McDonald, a history professor at San Francisco State University, had written a scholarly book about coal's impact on the Industrial Revolution. He always thought Coke would be a good name for a boy. It's short, sweet. It has a hard K sound like Kodak, Kathmandu, Kalamazoo. When Coke's twin sister popped out, Dr. and Mrs. McDonald were faced with a dilemma. Once you name your firstborn son Coke, you can't very well name his twin sister Rachel or Emily or anything too normal. It wouldn't sound right. How about Pepsi? One of the attending nurses suggested as a joke. Coke and Pepsi. Everyone in the birthing room had a good old laugh over that. But the more the McDonald's thought about it, the more they liked the idea. Coke and Pepsi. It was perfect. Not only that, but it fit their sensibilities. The McDonalds were second generation hippies from San Francisco who had always disapproved of the rampant commercialization of society. Dr. McDonald was fond of telling the students that the average person living in a city sees up to 5,000 advertisements every day. 5,000 ads! What better way to stick it to the man than to name your kids Coke and Pepsi? It would be an iconic statement about how corporations control people's lives. Heck, their last name was already McDonald. Why not name the kids Coke and Pepsi? Naturally, when the local media picked up on the baby names, the Coca Cola and Pepsi Cola companies were not happy at first. They made some noises about suing the family. Giving babies the same name as popular soft drinks was an infringement of the company's copyrights, the lawyers grumbled. Yeah, as if consumers would confuse the infants with sugary carbonated beverages. In the end, the corporate giants decided that kids named Coke and Pepsi be the best advertising they would ever have, and it didn't cost them a dime. This, they agreed, was even better than having kids named Jimmy and Susie walk around wearing Coke and Pepsi t shirts. Of course, growing up with the names Coke and Pepsi can be tough. What kind of predictions can you make? Why would it be tough for kids to have those names, Coke and Pepsi? Yeah, right? People might make fun of them. Both the twins encountered a good deal of ribbing when they got to sixth grade, especially Pepsi. Hey, soda girl, you're flat. But the thing is, no matter how unusual someone's name is, after you hear it a few dozen times, the name starts to fit the person, like a comfortable pair of jeans. You can't imagine that boy or girl ever having a different name. Eventually, kids stop looking at Pepsi and thinking of high fructose corn syrup. We humans have a way of adapting to things. Hardly anybody called her Pepsi anyway. To most of the kids at West Marin Middle School, and just about everybody who knew her, she was Pep. Simply Pep. Anyway, it could have been worse. The McDonald's could have named the twins Mountain Dew and Sprite. A few years back, there was a New Jersey couple who named their son Adolf Hitler. Go ahead and look it up if you don't believe me. Now that kid is going to have issues. Ordinarily in a story, there isn't this is where the author tells the readers what the main character, or in this case, characters look like. The author might go on and on for page after page, painting a glorious word picture of Coke and Pep's hair, their faces, the way they walk and talk, and the way they dress, and so on. But you know what? Who cares? Do you really care what Coke and Pep look like? Does it really matter to you? It's boring. By the time you get to chapter 3, you will have forgotten the description you read back in chapter 1 anyway. Coke and Pep are 12-year-old twins about to turn 13 in a week. Okay? Enough said. That's all you need to know right now. You really want to know what they look like? Look at the cover of this book. Go ahead. I'll wait. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to the good part. The part where Coke and Pep go over the cliff. Okay. So here we've just finished chapter 1. We've met two characters, Coke and his sister Pepsi, twins, about to turn 13. Um, we don't know why, but they're about to go over a cliff. So, what kind of predictions can you make? Um, are they getting in trouble? Are they forced? Are they doing this willingly? What do you predict? Is it this person that's chasing them off the cliff? Stay tuned for chapter 2.